just introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about you?
My name is Ignacio Rivera, and I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. I am a activist, performance artist, writer. I've been organizing and doing activism for almost 20 years now, and I have done work on a variety of different movements. Environmental justice, anti-violence, LGBT, class issues, sexual liberation issues. So a pretty large gamut of stuff. Anything that has intersections and oppression that affect LGBTQI poor folks and people of color and LGBTQ folks.
Well, and how did you get started? You said 20 years ago? I
Yes.
hate to age you, but do you mind sharing how old you were when you started getting involved in activism?
I started getting involved at about, I would say I was like 19, 20, getting my foot in the door there. And it was my activism was, I guess, accidental. I always say, I think I was just living my life. At the time, I was a young mom. I'm trans identified person and identified or assigned female at birth. So I had a child pretty early on, and so we were navigating the welfare system and homelessness and shelters. So I was trying to live my life. And then an opportunity came up to go to an action around issues that affected me. Once I went to that action and saw like the power and the energy of the folks there fighting for what they wanted, I wanted in, and that kind of just started there. I had a person ask me if I would do a public speaking around environmental racism, and I said, "Well, I know what that is, but I've never spoken in front of an audience before." And he said, "Well, I'll teach you." This person became my mentor and really kind of talked to me and showed me the ropes on how to engage an audience, how to get your speaking points across. So that was the very first time I was on a stage, and it was empowering. And so from there on, I think it was kind of a snowball effect. People asked me to come and speak again. I wanted to, and I just got more involved.
Well, and other than your initial accidental foray into activism, how else would you say that your child has influenced your work as an activist and influenced you as a person?
I always say my daughter has influenced my entire life. um, I've survived because of her. I went to school, put myself through school because of her, for her, and I've wanted a better life for her. So the work that I do is, of course, for um, oppressed folks here and now, but also for trying to make a better future for my daughter and her children and her children.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, where and or how did you find empowerment? Because it took a lot of guts to get up on that stage and start getting really involved as an activist. Like, where does your source of strength come from?
Hmm. I It's interesting. I think when I think about every time I've been afraid or um, enraged or angered by injustice, it's associated sometimes with a little fear, a fear of what is to come. What could I do, and sometimes a little powerlessness. I think that when I felt that way, for me, the more I fear, the more I move forward. So I think my empowerment came from it. It was fear, but I didn't want to live in fear, and so um, I had to do something. So for me, it's like the more I'm afraid, the more I just go forward, and I just kind of jump off the cliff. I'm like, it's happening. I'm doing it. I'm doing the work that has to be done, and it's rewarding in the end. But yeah, it's a kind of a push. So
So, are you finding the current political climate extremely inspirational?
it's a process, right? I think it's shock and not shock at all, unfortunately. Um, I think feeling a little stuck in the beginning. I wrote a blog about this stuckness, for a feeling where do we go from here. But I know that that's a cycle and a process. Right now I'm feeling that, but there are other people in a different part of that cycle who are moving and taking it to the streets and doing work within structures, and I'll get there. Right now it's a little difficult. I've been mostly connecting one on one with a lot of people, asking people what they need, offering support, doing a lot of self care. Because in order for me to do that work, I definitely have to take care of myself.
Yeah. What kinds of things do you do for self care?
Self care is definitely around my spirituality. So I have my indigenous spirituality. I do a lot of work in that. Also, it's with my chosen family. My chosen family has definitely been a great source for my helping my self care, community care as well. That we really support one another and talking to folks, and of course, art. Art is a huge part of self care for me and for a lot of people that I love. So, trying to refocus fear and negative energy into something positive and to something that is um, good, good for you, because this work is hard. This work is very hard, and after doing it for 20 years, you get to a point where you feel that you need other sources of energy in order to keep moving, because sometimes it gets a little daunting. But thank goodness for everyone at different stages of this journey, because when I am down, other people pick me up, and vice versa.
Oh, very well said. As a person who identifies as Two Spirit, Black, Boricua, Taino, queer, and gender nonconforming, you embody much that exists outside of binaries. How do you navigate a world where one is often expected to be either one thing or the other?
It has been challenging and yet beautiful to do the work and kind of educating folks on what it means to be two spirit, gender nonconforming, and genderqueer. I think we have a long way to go in that, because I think as a system, we work in binaries a lot, and I think within the trans movement, we have been pushing for the visibility of gender nonconforming, genderqueer, two spirit persons, and how important that is, especially with the work that needs to be done within legislation. This language needs to happen. So it is. I think we have a farther way to go, but these days, being in the movement as long as I have, like you see the language. People are using gender nonconforming more. People are using gender fluid. There's a broader understanding that there is more than the binary. And I'm really like excited to see what it's going to look like in 5, 10 years from now. Um, I'm hoping that it is a positive push forward, especially with this new regime. We don't know what's about to happen, so it can be a little scary. But pushing forth with the work that we've been doing is super important, and letting people know that we exist, and why it's important to understand that gender nonconforming people exist in the world, and how we what our experiences are.
And how do you see breaking down binaries as benefiting broader society as a whole, too, in addition to, to enabling us to recognize and acknowledge gender nonconforming individuals and non-binarized identity? How do you see it benefiting our broader society, too, once we're able to really challenge and break down those binaries?
Mhm. I think it benefits us all, because we have a broader vision of who we are as people, who we are as partners, as parents. I mean, we've had for so long such a cookie cutter model of what it means to be a woman and what it means to be a man, and even within that binary, it is very strict as to what a woman should be. Right? We have all these views of how a woman should have sex, how she should parent, how she should do this, right? So not only is it helping gender nonconforming folks, but it really broadens the scope for people that have been living in the binary and have really no idea that there's more to them than what society has constructed. So I think it would really expand how we love, how we are in community with one another. Um, I think just about every aspect of life can be pretty much sweetened if we had a broader understanding of us as humans. We are much more broader and complex than the structure has led us to believe.
What do you feel like allies struggle to hear?
Hmm. I think it's always difficult for any ally because we're all allies in some way, but I think it's difficult to hear when we're wrong, when we mess up. And I think that the key here is that when we mess up, when allies mess up, that it's a part of the journey, and if they're willing to listen, if they're willing to take critique, that we can move forward. I think one of the things that we have to learn to do in all of our struggles is to really understand what true and loving accountability looks like, because we're all learning and we we will mess up. We will mess up. Uh, but really taking that into account. But and another thing I think that allies have difficulty with is that sometimes allies feel very empowered about the work that they're doing. Right? They want to support people who are marginalized, but in that sometimes take too many steps forward and become the lead in what they're trying to assist in. And so allies need to remember that they're assisting, they're helping to uphold someone, so that people who are the oppressed, people who are at the margins, are the ones leading this effort. And so that allies need to take direction from them. And I think that's a hard thing for a lot of allies. Sometimes we think we know better than the people that are being oppressed. And that's been an issue, I think, all the way around. So I believe that they need to sit back, listen, and take critique.
Excellent advice. Now, as a performance artist, activist, filmmaker, lecturer, and sex educator, what work do you do that you're most passionate about?
I always say all of it. I love it all. I absolutely love doing public speaking. So all of the work that I do, I feel is a form of activism. So whether I'm in front on the stage performing, whether I do a experimental short, or I'm doing a lecture or on a panel, it's all a vehicle for my activism. So when I perform, there's a message there. There's a message in my storytelling. There's a message in all of it. So I absolutely love it because it's a connection with a group of people and a privilege to have that connection with a group of people. Um, that they're sitting there listening to me, right? They're actually sitting there listening to what I say, whether they agree with it or not, whether they boo me or they give me a standing ovation. I feel that that privilege gives me um, a megaphone, a microphone, and it is powerful.
Yeah, excellent point. Yeah, definitely the benefits that can be offered, say, by a stage, right? Does it ever create a sense of distance, or is it primarily of intimacy and connection in your experience?
I think both, right? Because it can have some distance, but with the work that I do, like I said, whether it's performance or a panel or a lecture, I always offer intimate one-on-one connection after. Always giving of myself to here's my card if you have questions. So I do offer that opportunity for more of an intimate connection, but it's a blessing to be able to have the privilege to speak and have people want to hear you speak. And no matter what, no matter the outcome, no matter what they believe, they will leave that audience, that stage, that conference, having something in their heads, something new to think about. So whether they're arguing about it or they're praising it, it is a privilege to have that power to have an audience.
Yeah, what is your approach oftentimes, when you're on stage or in film? Is it primarily telling your story? Do you use your story and experiences as kind of the driving force to help people to experience empathy?
Yes, I mean that's been a huge part for me using my own story. I think storytelling is very very powerful, and when it is connected to something that someone can be like, oh, oh, I hear that. I can sympathize with you. I think we're inundated with news and the internet. We have lots and lots and lots and lots of information. So even when you see something on the news that is very very sad, sometimes we are so shut off from it because it's overwhelming. But when we have somebody to break that down a little bit and to tell a personal story, then take that story and connect it to something wider, is it kind of allows for that story to seep into the consciousness and have people think about it in a different way. So I usually use personal stories to connect to bigger issues, political issues, activist issues.
Well, and again, I talked about how courageous you were before, but I feel like that just further shows how courageous you are because it takes an incredible amount of I don't. You're so vulnerable, right? When you're sharing these stories with people,
Yeah.
and that you are just putting yourself out there. I mean, again, where do you draw the strength and the courage to be able to do that? What motivates you?
Hmm. I think I don't know. I think it's about that connection because I'm always thinking, how can I get this person, to understand why this is a dire issue and they need to be doing the work, right? I do a lot of public speaking at colleges and universities, and unless a POC group has me come, it's usually an all-white audience. And so, how do I convey to a white audience what racism, or if in terms of class issues, if what does it mean to be poor? Not something that they've seen on television, right? Because we can digest things on television and it just kind of goes over our head, right? What does it really mean? I think it is very, very vulnerable, but I also do think that people really appreciate vulnerability, and it allows them to be vulnerable. And when I do speaking, public speaking, I allow the audience to become vulnerable with me. So there's a good exchange of that, and they know that they're, I guess, safer for the most part in talking to me, and even as I check people, I do it. I do it in a way that they can get it. That they can get it, and it's been successful for me. And that approach has been pretty successful.
What are you hoping people will learn from your discussion of sexuality? Um, are there certain expectations that you're trying to debunk as you're teaching folks about sexuality? Are you helping them to explore their own? Um, and also, what kind of work do you do around survivor-specific sexuality?
All right. So the work around sexuality is it's broad, right? And so it is, I started talking about sex, sexuality, and gender because I feel like it connects us all. It absolutely connects us all. And when we think about homophobia, transphobia, all these things, lesbophobia, biphobia, all of these things have to do with sex and sexuality. But cis and heterosexual folks seem far removed from that. That sexuality is only an issue for, or even when we think about BDSM and kink, that's only over there, right? But these things affect us all in a lot of ways. So I like to talk about sexuality as a personal, but also as a political, right? How is sex political? Sex is very political when we think about the abortion issue, when we think about not too long ago, we had sodomy laws on the books, when we think about um, the poor women being sterilized, right? When we think about welfare reform and programs through welfare reform that were uh, giving women the birth control that you insert in your arm, which I forget the name of right now, but doing things like that. All of that has to do with sex and sexuality, and then there's a component of race and class as well in there. So I wanted to like broaden people's minds of when we think about sex, don't think about one aspect of sex like the act of doing, right? It goes beyond that. It goes to relationship structures. It goes to um even how we help raise our queer kids, right? It goes to all of it, right? And so that is kind of like the, I guess, the journey that I've been on, right? Really talking to folks and saying this is an issue for all of us to talk about. It's not just a gay issue. It's not a, kinky issue. It's all of this. It's about government control of our bodies and how we use our bodies, how we have sex with other people, and the relationships that we have. So I wanted to talk about it in that sense. And then another aspect of the sexuality work that I do is around survivor stuff because I am a survivor of child sexual abuse, incest, and rape. And so um, my journey began with my own healing, right? So healing from that trauma and the lifelong journey from healing from that trauma, I wanted to connect with other folks that were going through the same things that I was going through, and also wanting to find an empowered place in my own body. So I do right now through the Just Beginnings Collaborative. I got a fellowship for 2 years to do the Heal Project, which is Hidden Encounters, Altered Lives, and it is a project that focuses, like the core of it is that comprehensive sexuality education is the key to ending child sexual abuse. I think there are many things that can help end child sexual abuse, but I think that is a core piece for me. Um, Sex and sexuality is so taboo and hidden and secret, which is a perfect thing for a predator, right? Um, so we need to be talking about sex and sexuality in such an open and celebratory way so that this is not a secret thing. This is not anything that can be held over someone, that the trans kid or the queer kid is not going to be targeted because they're hiding who they are or don't know who they are yet. Um, so yeah, so all of those things kind of connect for me. It is sex and sexuality are very much political, and if we think it's not, then we're absolutely wrong. It is something that we need to be talking about um, very openly with our children, with each other, and I think that that would shift a lot of the ways in which we connect with one another, how we see one another, and how we love one another.
What are some of the gifts of working with issues around transness survivorship and or communities of color in your experiences?
What are the gifts you said? Like,
Yeah. What are some of the benefits to working around these particular identifiers?
I mean, I, the one of the gifts of working within trans communities is just the beauty, just like there's always something new, there's something wonderful to learn, and there are folks really dissecting gender in such a bigger way than I did when I was younger. It's beautiful to see all of the thinking and the experiencing around how we've limited ourselves um, in our bodies and our identities, and that there's so much more to learn and to be. I think that trans people, gender nonconforming folks, two spirit folks, offer such huge gifts to the world. They are cracking open the minds of people every day to just, you see something every day and someone comes and shines a different light on it to see something even more. I think that's what trans people do every day in the world. Um, I think in the beginning, as we've moved on, we've seen it has been difficult. Lots of beautiful, wonderful people have fallen because of this journey in the fight, and that will not be in vain because I think many policies are going to be changed, and even if that doesn't happen, communities are shifting the way they think, shifting the way we introduce ourselves to one another. Hi, my name is, my pronoun is. I mean, that's amazing. When people say that to me, I'm so happy to hear that people are actually like changing the way we interact with one another because we just don't know, right? So that to me, that's the beauty of being in trans community and doing this work, because it's just a constant learning and reevaluating, and that's exactly what we need to be doing, right? Nothing is set in stone. We need to just be thinking about these things all the time, and moving forward and shifting, and like, and loving it, right?
Amen. Yo. How do you combine and create so many intersections in all of the work that you do?
Hmm. I think, as an activist and a public speaker, I'm always thinking about how one thing connects to the other, and you could always find a connection to something. I think you could always find a connection, and that's how we get different populations of people who wouldn't otherwise want to know about these things to know about them, because there is a connection. We are all connected some way, somehow. So that's what I'm constantly thinking about. You know, why would why would a cis person want to know about trans issues? Why would a rich white person want to know about poverty issues? What connects us all? And I constantly think about that famous poem, at first they came for, then they came, that poem. And it speaks, I mean, it speaks volumes because it is so true. You think you're okay, but one day somebody's going to come for you, and who's going to be there, right? So we need to be thinking about how we connect, what connects us all, um, and really like really push forward to understand one another, right? We have to stop with the other. That person is over there, that person is weird, that person is that. And there will come a day that probably that person that's saying that person is weird is the one that's going to be seen as weird, right? So I think it's again, I keep saying it's a broadening of our minds and really reevaluating the things that we fear, that are different. Um, it's all about growth and learning, right? You can't be the same person you were 5 years ago. Hopefully, you've
Hopefully.
elevated that person, right? Hopefully, you learned a little more about yourself, made some new friends, understood yourself a little better, have the answers for life. I don't know.
Well, which people have inspired you?
That's always a hard question for me to answer because so many people inspire me every day. So I can't pinpoint, one particular person. It's it's the youth activists that inspire the heck out of me. It's people who have been doing this work for 30, 35 years and they're still doing it. You know, it's people that share their stories when it is so hard to do and it's such a vulnerable, place to be. It's my mom, it's my daughter. Um, yeah, so many people inspire me. I get energy and yeah, life from a lot of different folks.
What do you hope to inspire in others?
Hmm, so many things.
What do you hope to inspire in them right at this moment in time?
um, Sometimes I just want folks to listen, like listen fully. Like I hope that when I go to speak at places, I mean, sometimes I'm preaching to the choir, which is great because I'm getting all the love that I want. But sometimes I go to places where it is definitely not the choir. And what I hope to inspire in those people is to stop, take a breath, listen, think, and really move with love, and to really try to think about those things, like what actually does connect us. Why is that person so different from me? And really, why does it matter? Like, why does it matter that that person is really different from me? Right. So I think it's those people that I really want them to really open their hearts and their minds and, yeah, think.
Who is one black trans person you think everybody should know about?
I think everybody should know about Rox Anderson from um, Minneapolis. They're one of the co-owners of Cafe Southside, and has done tireless work in their community for trans, gender nonconforming, queer young folks. They are the most loving and giving person that I know. They're just wonderful, and they're always giving, giving, giving of themselves to the community. So I think everyone should know about them.
Thank you. You're a very successful person, right? Someone with a lot of drive, a lot of knowledge, and a lot of connections. What would you say to people who are struggling, who may have experienced one hardship after another and may have had a hard time hanging on to hope?
I say that um, I understand. I think it is right now. It's a difficult time, but I would say this, and I always say this: find your people, because we can't do this alone. When things are rough, when things feel like you can't anymore, there's always a person that you should be able to reach out to, someone that you call your chosen family, found family, your friend, your family of origin. Um, Find your people, people who get you, people who want to hold you, people who will listen to you, because we all need that. Um, that's like the number one thing, because that has definitely been my source of strength, my chosen family. Um, I have fallen so many times and they have picked me up.
If someone visited your gravesite 100 years from now, would you have a headstone? And if so, what would people see on it?
Well, I wouldn't have a headstone because I'm not going to get buried. I am going to be cremated. But if there were something written somewhere, um, I think it would say that I was authentic. That's what I try to be, at least.
You do so very well. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us that I haven't asked you about?
Please celebrate and honor Black folks in this country and in the world beyond February, because it is Black History Month. But this country definitely needs to really open their arms and their hearts to Black folks, in the entire diaspora of Black folks. So beyond February, learn something new.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent advice. All right. Well, thank you so very, very, very much for your time. This has been amazing. We are so blessed to be able to benefit from your wisdom and experiences.
Thank you.
So thank you for sharing yourself with us, not only through this interview, but also through the amazing work that you do. And please, to the best of your ability, making the world a better place.
Thank you. I appreciate it.